So here's the camper taking shape. I thought you might want to see how I fabricate. Let me get the light behind me. So that it fits and all the bowl holes line up and everything. What I do is measure a particular part, like from there to the end. Drill the bowl holes in the individual piece, bolt the piece down, and then go to the next piece. By doing this, when I make the welds, it not only tends to hold it in place against the distorting effects of the welding, but also make sure it's a perfect fit. Everything lines up because it's already lined up before you weld it together. I mean, I didn't drill holes in the body and drill holes in the tubing and then try and put it together. I drill holes in the tubing, set it on the body, clamp it in place, and then drill a hole in the body. That way it has nowhere else to go but exactly where it's supposed to be. Then I'll tack, adjust the orientation of everything, and then solidly tack it. By the time you get 4 solid tacks on there, it's pretty much rigid. It may not be strong, but it is rigid. And this is essentially what you call the outline of the camper. And now I just start filling in and then building the attic over the cab. So that's how it's done. And even on this, you can see it's spaced just away from the frame, of the truck. That's roughly the space that the weather stripping will occupy when it's crushed down. Because we have a 90-degree angle here, and those bolt holes line up this way, and these line up this way, and so it better be right when you make it. Now, assembly magnets and square tubing makes it pretty easy to line things up if there's not much weight on the piece. The problem is when you have weight that those magnets are trying to hold, they're not nearly strong enough. Now, magnets have their limitations. I've got a 10-foot chunk of steel hanging in midair here, so whenever you can, instead of magnets, go ahead and clamp another piece of steel. This was nice, this kind of setup, because it will automatically level your new piece. Keep it tilted properly and at the right elevation. Now I'm working on the attic. It's also an aerodynamic fairing. And as you can see, I clamped a cross piece back there as just a temporary support so that I can bring this support out. And it looks a little bit high above the roof, but that actually, when you look where the center of the roof is, it'll get pretty close at that elevation. So by using a similar method, I determined what elevation clears the roof at a minimum distance of 1.5 inches. And on the front of this, I'll extend the sheathing down a little bit and get it closer to the roof. Now, how do I know what that angle is? I haven't the faintest idea what that angle is. What I did is I came down here, and I don't know how well it'll show, but this line here, see, this is the distance from the horizontal cross member to the tip. This is the vertical distance between the cross members. So I can actually just take a piece of tubing, lay it on the tabletop, and mark it. And that tells me what I need to know, and just cut it whatever the heck that angle is. I haven't the faintest idea what it is. Doesn't matter. As long as it works, it works. Now I gotta lay out these others, cut them, then I can start welding stuff in place. As you can see, that temporary support will hold things nice and solid while I weld it in place. Once the diagonal's in there, that baby ain't going nowhere. So all the welding and grinding has been done that I can think of. I will probably find something somewhere when I'm doing it. I have to finagle it. I wiped it all down with gasoline and then with a cleaner, descaler, and etcher. That's why it's looking a little funny colored there. That's the phosphoric acid etching the metal. So now it's all been painted. I found 3 welds that hadn't been properly ground down. That was kind of anticipated. Luckily I didn't find anything I had to weld. So, got this painted. Got the parts of the truck that are going to be covered by the camper painted, so that when I put it on, it'll be protected. And now I need to start putting some sheathing here, and underneath that the insulation has to go in there too, and put the weather stripping on, paint the top of the cab, paint the underside of the attic. Then I can actually remount it. And here we are loading up the camper frame for the last time, hopefully.
Hold on, whoa.
So here it is, Friday the 5th of January, and I've got the attic fairings on and the under attic done. And the frame on the actual truck. Most of the bending here was done actually over the frame. Screw it down, then bend it. That's why it's a little irregular. And that line right there is where I have to cut that back. Took it over by a neighbor's, and he's got a steep bank in front of his house, so I just drive one corner of the pickup on that and see how close it comes, and it was actually touching the other side when I did it on that side, so I got to trim them back just a little bit. And here we are a couple days later. The back wall and rear door are complete. The fit and finish look pretty good to me. Now, that's not because I'm really good at cutting. It's because I leave a little overlap and then grind it down. And you lay one in, grind it to the surface of the tubing. Then you lay the other one in, and you grind it down to the surface of this. So it allows you to get a pretty good fit and finish without the ability of being real precise, which I am not. I don't have the proper tooling, neither am I that terribly skilled. Likewise with the door here, you can see the overlap looks really good, but some of that is simply because I can bend the edge. You can't see it too easy. Yeah, maybe you can. You can see there's a little edge there because this door frame is not perfectly parallel to the door jamb. Likewise, up here I didn't quite get overlap. I hope that doesn't give me a problem. If it does, I can do something about it with a little glue and a little strip, but hopefully I won't have to. That's again some pretty nice fit, but that's because I made these and then kind of filed them over to where I got the fit I needed. Now hopefully that reflection will give an idea why I don't want to drive this thing until I get the camper painted. Now, the sheathing is now installed. We have an overhang in the back to protect the door, overhang on the edges to protect the sidewalls, and to allow us to install an awning on either or both sides. And there's how it all fits together. And that's roughly the elevation the bed will be in. It'll actually be a little bit higher with the mattress and stuff. But then there'll be a lot of storage underneath it. It won't be quite that long. And all that's cabinets and such. On to paint.